Good afternoon to you. It's just 14 days away. Can you believe it? Just 14 days away. At least a major moment in election season. Coming up today, Hans Von Spakovsky talks to us, the election expert from the Heritage Foundation. We'll talk to him about the early vote, how important that is, election fraud, as well as the left's attacks on Elon Musk. The globalists are uniting in their attacks on Elon. I've got details on that coming up. Victor Davis Hanson is here. 4:30. We're not worthy. VDH in the house today. We're going to chat with him at 4:30. And then 5 o'clock, Ryan Gordusky joins us. We've got a race on our hands. Ryan's following the details really closely there. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I've just got to be honest with you because I'm perpetually honest with you. This is the best I've felt about this election all year. All year long. The Real Clear Politics average today has President Trump winning in every single swing state. Every single one. He still trails in the national popular vote polling for now, but again, that's not the game we play in American electoral politics. The left would like to change that for now, up until they lose the popular vote, and then they'll create another game that they want to play. But right now, President Trump is destined to win the Electoral College vote if the numbers hold over the course of these next 14 days. And that is all very encouraging news. Also, the early vote just looks fantastic. Across every state in the country that's undertaking early voting right now, the energy it's crystal clear. It's with Republicans. It's with, in particular, I don't want to just say Republicans broadly, in particular with President Trump. And to the extent that Republicans are the beneficiary of that, that's great news too. In fact, there's a clip going around today. Mark Halperin, the political analyst, assesses this today and says, look, if this early vote pattern continues the way it's going, well, President Trump is set to be elected president, and we're going to know it on election morning. I'm talking not even before the polls close. Take a listen to this.
If the early vote numbers stay the way they are, and that's a big if, we'll almost certainly know before Election Day who's going to win the election. We're going to talk a lot about that. The reasons why Democrats might be underperforming, the prospect that they'll recover. But again, make no mistake, if these numbers hold up in the states where we can understand even partially what the data is like, we'll know that Donald Trump's going to be president on Election Day. So we're going to talk about that, but I didn't want to bury that because it's extraordinarily important. And we got to track that day to day. That's more important than the polls right now. It's more important than almost anything because it's giving us insight into a variety of factors that are accounting for a Republican overperformance by various metrics in the early voting in the battleground states.
And these are all phenomenal indicators, I like them very much. Now, don't take any of this as some sort of excuse to settle down or some sort of indication that, oh, the coast is clear, it's all over. That's not what I'm saying at all. Please don't try and even attempt to misconstrue me on this. I'm just telling you that I like what I'm seeing. I like that Republicans are activated. I like that conservatives are getting out there and voting. I like that they're dominating the early vote, establishing themselves, casting those ballots, removing their names from the voting pool in order to make sure that no one else can steal those votes. These are all great trends. And I want to talk, Hans Von Spakovsky joins us this hour, and I want to talk to him about this, the value of early voting, the role that it plays in foreclosing on voter fraud and any other sorts of shenanigans with elections. That's really important. And, of course, Hans is also going to talk about the left in all of its tyrannical anger, the way that they want to crush their political opponents. The appetite for that is only growing. You know, with each passing day that Kamala's not performing well, the left is trying to think of new ways to put the screws to their political opponents. And that especially includes Elon Musk. Boy, they hate him. They hate him. I thought you were on my side, they say. You were the electric vehicle guy. I thought you were with us. I didn't know that you were into this. What is this thing he's into? Free speech? I didn't know he was into that. What a fascist. So they're coming after him. They're using everything they've got to go after him. He's got a lot of resources, but To be honest, they've got more in the end. I mean, they control too many of the world's governments. They've got a lot of billionaires on their side. They're training their weapons on this guy. They hate what he has done. They hate that he bought Twitter. They hate that he made it X. They hate that he opened up free speech on that platform. They despise it. They despise that he endorsed Trump. They despise that he's helping him. They despise that he's inducing people to register to vote in an environment where every new registered voter in America right now is more likely to be a Trump supporter than not. They hate that. They loathe, at its core, they loathe democracy. They don't like it. And the reason for that is very simple, because when the people get to exercise their voice democratically in our constitutional republic, as it stands now, they lose. So as a result, they hate that system. If it was inverted, they wouldn't care. They'd be perfectly happy with it. But they hate that system. And so these next 2 weeks, as good as I'm feeling right now, and by the way, as good as President Trump is feeling, have you seen him lately? That attitude that he took up at that McDonald's in Pennsylvania, standing in that drive-through line, the genuine joy with which he did that campaign stop, not the phony, artificial joy that the Kamala Harris campaign has been attempting to sell. The real joy of a guy who clearly knows he's doing well, is en route to re-election, back to come back to the White House, and really does enjoy at the ground level being with American citizens, listening to them, taking them seriously, and treating them well. That should be inspiring to you. That should be encouraging to you, that attitude. It is to me. The media are furious about all of this. So these next 2 weeks and beyond are going to be composed of some of the most insidious lies, misrepresentations, distortions, and presentations you have ever seen. And we've seen a lot of them. But just by way of example, this is CBS News' Norah O'Donnell this week, summarizing the weekend events of both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Have you heard this yet? Listen to the way she describes these two candidates and their activities. And then see if you can guess who she's supporting for president of the United States.
Election Day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
Crude, lewd, all the adjectives she's wielding against Trump. Did you notice the adjectives she was using for Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney? Did she call Liz Cheney a powerful Republican congresswoman? Is that what she referred to her as? Yeah, so a gushing presentation of Kamala Harris's flailing campaign, and then just a series of disparaging statements about Donald Trump. That's the straight news broadcast over at CBS. That's Norah O'Donnell. Just telling it like it is. Just telling it like it is, which is to say that she is furious. She's furious that Trump is doing well and Kamala is doing poorly. It's driving her crazy. And so they've spent the week doing all sorts of stupid things. Did you see that President Trump made some remarks over the weekend about the golfer Arnold Palmer? Not the drink, the golfer. And it was over the course of a 2-hour speech that he was giving, a campaign speech. And he was riffing, and he was talking about how Arnold Palmer, he was impressively endowed. That was what he wanted to say. But he said it in so many words. Here he is describing in Pennsylvania, Arnold Palmer. This is a 42-second aside in a 2-hour speech that he gave in Pennsylvania.
Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when He took showers with the other pros. They came out of there. They said, "Oh my God, that's unbelievable." I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold and say, "Man, but he was really something special."
All right, so that was what movie rating would we give that? I mean, that's barely PG-13. That was just, it was an interesting presentation. But then Trump moved on. Trump, again, that was the course. That was 42 seconds. So what has happened since then? Well, given that President Trump has a campaign that has immense support, and that cuts across all demographics everywhere, Trump's reinventing demographic support in the entire United States of America right now. Given that his campaign stops have been just real successes, and one of the reasons we can say that is because he is setting the tone. Like, you think the media wants to cover him in McDonald's? You think they want to give his thing attention? No, but he goes, and then they think they've got an angle on him. Oh, let's attack him. Oh, the campaign stop was staged. He doesn't actually work at McDonald's. Yeah, no kidding. He doesn't work at McDonald's. We know he doesn't work at McDonald's. It was a campaign stop, idiots. And no, are you serious right now, Newsweek? This is your attack? That he's not actually employed at McDonald's? Come on. And so the press, once again, grasping at straws, hoping to find something else they can try and hurt Trump with, they became obsessed with his Arnold Palmer anecdote over the weekend. This is Jake Tapper thinking he's confronting Speaker of the House Mike Johnson about this. How dare Donald Trump? Even Mike Johnson seems to have good quips ready to go.
I know you want to talk about policy, and I respect that, but the reason that Donald Trump is not up 10 points is because of comments like that one, where people do have concerns about his fitness, his acuity, and his stability.
Jake Tapper is just making that up. What data does he have to support anything he just said? He's just wish casting. Oh, people don't like him because he tells stories about Arnold Palmer. That's why he's not 10 points higher? What?
Where people do have concerns about his fitness, his acuity, and his stability. Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis in front of Pennsylvania voters?
Jake, you seem to like that line a lot. Let me tell you that Donald Trump is doing rallies.
Wait. Okay, so I love Speaker Johnson. Of all people, Speaker Johnson. He comes back and fire, and he's like, "Hey, Jake, I got to say, you seem to kind of like that line a lot for some reason. What's going on over there?" And Mike Johnson with a little dig at Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper's like, whoa, don't you dare imply anything.
In front of Pennsylvania voters.
Jake, you seem to like that line a lot. Let me tell you that Donald Trump is doing rallies nonstop around the country.
Let me just say something. I don't want to be talking about this.
All right.
Donald Trump is out there saying it is.
But you continue.
It was a 42-second aside in a 2-hour speech. I don't want to have to be talking about this, but Donald Trump is out there. He said this, and I've got to talk about it. Notice, by the way, that Jake is the one who's using the most descriptive language here. Trump kind of just gave us a little innuendo. He was like, hey, they saw him, and they're like, whoa, that's unbelievable. And yeah, so how about that? He's a real man, he said, and he continues his speech. It's Jake Tapper who's like, why is he talking about?
They're saying it is.
But you continue to. Let's talk about.
Because you won't
Wait a
address
minute,
it.
hold on.
You won't address it. He is out there talking to
No,
voters.
I'll address it. Let me answer it.
This is so
Okay,
unreal.
don't say it again. We don't have to say it.
Yeah, don't say it again. You sound like you're enjoying this a little too much. Stop it, Jake.
Get it. There's lines in a rally. When President Trump is at a rally, sometimes he'll speak for 2 straight hours.
Okay, so that's Speaker Johnson making the point I'm making. So the press is still hung up on this stupidity. They're still going with it because they don't have anything else. They have nothing else. This is, let's see here. I've got an example of this I want to share with you. This is what I wanted to share with you. So Jake Tapper's obsessed with it, but this is the point I wanted to make. You know, Obama did the same thing. Do you remember this? Obama did it at the DNC. So Trump pays a compliment to Arnold Palmer. He's like, hey, everybody's like kind of impressed. All right, let's move on. At the Democrat National Committee, do you remember? I don't know. You probably didn't watch the convention. Good for you if you didn't. It was awful. But Obama, up on stage, takes his hands and puts them up, and he starts talking about crowd sizes, but he puts his hands far apart and then close together to kind of, it's a little physical innuendo about crowd sizes, if you know what I mean.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Hands. It puts his hands from far apart to right in. And the crowd goes wild. Oh, yeah, make fun of Donald Trump's manhood. Way to go, Obama. So where was the Jake Tapper segment on that subject? Did CNN do that? Did CNN spend every A block for the next 24 hours saying, wasn't this beneath the American people? How could Obama do something like that? Kamala Harris would be 10 points higher if she didn't have surrogates out there making crude statements on a widely televised event like the Democrat National Convention. How dare Barack Obama? Oh, that's insufferable that he would do that. He'd be so much further ahead. No, of course they don't do that because they hate Trump. That's literally the only way you can measure this, so to speak, is they hate Trump. They hate him. So anything he says is fair game. Well, I can't even believe he would say something like that. They're attacking him. They're attacking him for literally complimenting Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer was great in a lot of ways. Here's one way that most people don't know. Trump shares it. They're like, oh, that's just completely out of bounds. All right, let's go to the phones. I got Dawn calling in from Norfolk on line 1. Dawn, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi. I just wanted to touch base and let you know there's a meme that's floating around, and this is a reference to the Elon Musk, how the left is going after him.
Yeah.
And this meme actually shows 18 different photos of Soros' kid is collecting Democratic politicians like they're rare Pokemon cards, but go after Elon Musk is the problem.
Yeah.
Okay? I just wanted to add to that.
That's a good point. Alexander Soros has taken over his father's empire. George is, as I understand it, kind of a senile lump now. It's Alex Soros who's exercising all the influence, and he's there's all these pictures of him meeting with top Democrat politicians, buying them up one by one. Yeah, no, it's good. Rare Pokemon cards, these guys, except way less interesting and way more insidious. Holy cow. All right, Dawn, thank you. Yeah, good point. I'm going to talk about Elon and the left's attacks on him. They're going international. The globalists are after him. They want to shut him down. They want to shut you down, most importantly. Hold on. Hans next. Hey, good afternoon. 3:35 here. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up next hour, Victor Davis Hanson will join us. He'll give us his impression of the state of the country in this election. What's going to happen next? That comes up at 4:30. 5 o'clock, Ryan Gerdusky dives into the data with us. Just 14 days away from Election Day 2024. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. My next guest is, in many ways, one of the leading experts on the subject of how elections are actually administered in the United States of America, and also a perfect guest to talk about the left's latest attacks on Elon Musk for standing up for free speech and the Second Amendment. Hans Von Spakovsky joins us now. He's a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Hans, great to talk to you as always, sir.
Vince, thanks for having me back.
I want to start with early voting because I want to make sure to address this topic. I think it's really important. We're seeing a tremendous amount of energy among Republican voters in all of the states that are undertaking early voting right now. That energy seems pretty enduring and sustained. And one of the concerns I hear from conservatives is that they'd like to do whatever they can to, A, prevent fraud, and B, to the extent that they early vote at all, they'd like a rationale for why that's a good idea. Do you have thoughts about that? What is the relationship between early voting, election integrity, and in the end, actually getting those ballots in? What do you make of it?
Well, look, if you vote early, you're voting in person. And if you're in a state that requires an ID, you're going to have to show your ID when you vote early, just like you would on Election Day. So it really doesn't matter. I don't think there's any difference in security between voting in person in a polling place 2 weeks before the election and voting on Election Day. Now, the one advantage it has is And I know people who have complained about this who said, well, we showed up on election day to vote, and they told me that I'd already voted. And that is really a problem in states where they don't have an ID requirement, which is unfortunately too many places across the country. So, if you vote early, you may foreclose someone else, an imposter or somebody else trying to go in and vote in your name.
So you can stake your claim. You can stake your claim to your actual vote, and you can make sure that nobody else takes it.
That's right. And let me tell you, it is a much better option than voting by mail, and frankly, trusting that the U.S. Postal Service will actually deliver your ballot on time.
Okay. All right. So early voting, big endorsement there from Hans Von Spakovsky, pointing out something very important about election integrity, which is make sure you do it before someone else takes yours. All right. Let me move to Elon Musk now with you, Hans.
Right.
So Elon Musk is one of the richest people on the planet, and at any given time, at least publicly, the richest man on earth. And one of the things he's doing is he's obviously supporting President Trump. He came out, gave that big endorsement after the assassination attempt earlier this year on July 13th. But then he's also launched a political action committee, America PAC, and he's asking people for signatures to a petition. And he's saying, if you're a registered voter in a swing state, sign this petition. And the petition merely says that I support the First and Second Amendments. That's it. And for people who get other registered voters to sign up for that petition, they get $47. And one lucky signatory every day in the swing states is going to receive $1 million. He just announced this past weekend, which is really cool to get. It's a great inducement to get people to sign this petition. The left is going crazy over this right now, Hans. In fact, to the point that even the Pennsylvania governor, Democrat Josh Shapiro, is saying that law enforcement is going to have to take a look at this to see whether or not Elon Musk is running afoul of our nation's laws. What do you make of the legal case the left is now trying to mount against Elon?
It's non-existent. I mean, Josh Shapiro doesn't know what he's talking about. Look, there's one very clear, very short, applicable federal law on this. And what it says is also, like I said, absolutely clear. It's a felony violation for anyone to knowingly and willfully pay or offer to pay someone to register to vote. Well, if you look at the petition, it is very carefully drafted. What it says is you're going to get paid for signing the petition supporting the First and Second Amendment. You're not getting paid to register to vote. Now, it is a condition to be eligible for this and to be eligible for signing this petition that you be a registered voter. But that is not what they're being paid for. And that statute makes it very clear there has to be a direct, explicit quid pro quo, as they call it in the legal community. The offer has to be, I'll pay you if you register to vote, you register, and then you go and you collect your payment. And by the way, it's a felony violation of federal law to both make the payment, and if you, the voter, accept the payment, it's a felony. That is not what's going on here. So anybody who claims that he's somehow violating that federal law, I'm sorry, that's just not the case. It's very clear to me reading the petition that his lawyers, Musk's lawyers,
yes,
they knew what they were doing. They very cleverly wrote this in a way to avoid violating the law. And by the way, this is not, Vince, any different than something that goes on all the time. You may be involved in this. Remember, what do political consultants, campaigns, and others do? They convene focus groups. And the focus groups, if you participate, you get paid. And of course, what do? They ask you your opinions about issues, about the candidate, et cetera. What is the condition for being a member of a focus group? You have to be a registered voter. That's not any different than what Elon Musk is doing, except that the money's a lot more.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's an excellent point. So even if Elon were to come out, and maybe he has said something to this effect, but the point of this is to induce people to register to vote. The reality, though, is that anybody who's already registered to vote, who has been, for instance, for a very long time, would be eligible to win the $1 million.
That's right. Right. And so that's why this doesn't violate the federal law. And I don't think any federal prosecutor, if they're nonpartisan, if they're objective, which of course would not include people like Jack Smith, would ever take up a case like this, because like I said, it does not fit the exact terms of a very clear federal statute.
Yeah, there's a lot of appetite, though, to go after Elon Musk. Here's, for instance, is MSNBC Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and what she had to say on this subject.
We're speaking about Elon Musk. He's doing this thing in swing states where he's offering $1 million prize to people who sign a petition of his. Does that violate federal law?
Potentially. I mean, it is illegal to pay someone to register, and it is illegal to pay someone to vote. And so if that's what's happening here, I think legal authorities will look into that at the state and federal level. I just think it's a little bit unnerving that someone would try to, manipulate the election process in this way.
It's funny. It's so dishonest the way she's even speaking, because she's trying to convince the audience that something illegal is happening here. But you can tell, Hans, she knows that this is all on the up and up.
That's right, exactly. She was very careful to say, people ought to look into it, but the law covers paying somebody to register, paying somebody to vote, and she never once said, what he's doing is illegal, because she knows it's not.
Yeah, but boy, I tell you what, Elon Musk, what's your impression of him? I mean, he's really stuck his neck out. This is obviously something he really believes in. He's just obviously, he thinks Trump should be elected. He thinks Kamala Harris is a sincere threat to free speech. He's been on the receiving end of a lot of lawfare. The New York Times, just in the last 24 hours, created an entire graphic of all of the various U.S. agencies who have either launched investigations or attempted to fine or go after Elon Musk and all of his various companies. What do you make of him, and how is the government treating him?
Well, I actually admire him. I don't always agree with everything he says, but look, he has been voluble out there about the threats to the First Amendment. Heck, that's why he bought Twitter, because of the way Twitter was censoring, now X, censoring the speech of their account holders. And I agree with him completely that we are seeing unprecedented threats against the First Amendment, particularly by government officials like this administration, that thinks they have the right to censor what we say because it's supposedly misinformation. And he also, strong supporter of the Second Amendment too. So, I wonder how much of these government investigations are because they really have probable cause to believe he's doing anything wrong, or just political.
Yeah, I mean, well, you and I have both seen the Biden administration in particular, their capacity for vicious government action against their political opponents. My default position is that they're attacking him merely because of his politics.
Yeah, and anybody who wants another example of that, just look at the way they're going after Virginia and Alabama for removing aliens from their voter rolls, when in fact they're supposed to be enforcing the federal law that makes a criminal violation of an alien to register and vote.
Yeah. Hey, lastly, before I let you go, Hans Von Spakovsky, I need to ask you, we talked about early voting at the outset, but I want to ask you specifically about Georgia again, because the left said that the voter integrity law that they passed in the wake of the 2020 election would amount to Jim Crow 2.0. This is President Joe Biden making that claim.
Jim Crow 2.0 is about two insidious things: voter suppression and election subversion. It's no longer about who gets to vote. It's about making it harder to vote.
Meanwhile, Georgia has record turnout right now among its early vote. Subsequent elections after that law were passed included record black turnout. Do you think the book is closed on that lie?
Yeah, it is closed on it. That doesn't mean the left won't continue to make that very false claim. I mean, not only record turnout, but Vince, there was a great survey done by the University of Georgia after the 2022 congressional elections, when all these provisions were enforced, of all voters, including black voters, and all of them overwhelmingly said We didn't have any trouble voting. In fact, a huge majority said, actually, we found it easier to vote than last time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Kamala Harris just this past week was once again telling the lie that it's illegal to hand someone water in line, which it's just a never ending cascade of dishonesty, quite unfortunately. And but people seem to be voting perfectly fine in Georgia, and I'm glad about that. All right. Hans Von Spakovsky, thank you very much from the Heritage Foundation. Always good to talk to you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
There he is, Hans Von Spakovsky. Yeah, the lies. Kamala's like, you can't get water. Do you know what that was about? Do you remember what that was about? Georgia said you can't do electioneering while people are in line. So a political campaign can't hand you goodies as you're going in to vote. That would include branded water bottles that say "Vote for Kamala." You can't do that. But if somebody needs water in line and you're standing next to them and you hand them a bottle of water, that's perfectly American and legal. That's fine. Here, have some of mine. You need some water? You can step out of line. You could go to the water fountain at the building. They still have those, I think. But the left lies about it. There's people, like dying of thirst in lines in Georgia. Find me that person who died of thirst in line in Georgia.
So, of course, rich people giving money to campaigns in one way or another is nothing new, right? But I wonder if you look at it big picture, if there are laws that need to be considered here. We're in a place we've never seen before. First of all, a lot more billionaires than they have ever been. Very publicly influential. Musk, for example, not only has money to burn, but
this is, of course, MSNBC. They're all of a sudden very concerned about billionaires spending money in electoral politics. Notice that they didn't raise that concern when it was George Soros doing it, or Tom Steyer, or Reid Hoffman, or Michael Bloomberg, or take your pick. The list goes on and on and on. But Elon, who says, the First Amendment is sacrosanct, it'd be good if we had a country that protected it.
He has X, formerly Twitter. Trump has said he'd make a new cabinet position for Musk if he's elected. So I wonder, are there laws out there? Do laws need to change because of the kind of...
How do we hurt our political opponents?
...of changing influence we're seeing from people with deep pockets?
The changing influence that we are seeing from people with deep pockets. Again, no self-awareness, or at least brazen hypocrisy.
Because of the kind of changing influence we're seeing from people with deep pockets.
So to be clear, under current law, it's unconstitutional, thanks to the Supreme Court, to limit spending in elections. The Supreme Court decided that in 1976. They reaffirmed that in the Citizens United case in 2010. Congress tried to pass laws limiting spending by the ultra-rich in elections, and the Supreme Court said that that's a violation of the First Amendment. So all the other things that Musk is doing, his work with X, his giving the money to the super PAC, those are all considered legal under current system. And then the question is, do we want to think about amending the Constitution to change the role of the ultra-wealthy? But that's really very different than what Musk is doing with this lottery, which seems to be a clear violation of federal law.
Which, of course, it's not. I mean, what is that? That guy, by the way, was Rick Hasson, a UCLA law professor who doesn't actually know what the law is. So if your kid's going to UCLA right now to study law, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not going well. It's not. That guy is lying to your kid. So here we are. Here we are. We live in a world where the left, it says, that Constitution, really pesky. It's in the way. What is it going to take to hurt Elon? Do we really have to change the Constitution? Fine, fair enough. We'll do it. We'll change the Constitution. We'll hurt Elon Musk. It's not just the American left who want to crush him. It's the global left who wants to crush him. Coming up, I've got a story about how Kamala Harris is working in concert with foreign nationals to destroy Elon Musk and to try and win this election. The details on Kamala Harris's foreign election meddling scheme coming up. Stay with us. And Victor Davis Hanson, don't miss him. All ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show.